welcome Dr. Manesh Kokare, sir, Professor, Department of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineering, Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji Engineering and Technology, College of Engineering, Nanded. I heartily welcome you, sir, on the behalf of Swami Raman Tirth Marathwada University, Nanded. We have organized online expert lecture series. We have jointly organized this lecture series from the Office of Dean Science and Technology and Office of Dean Interdisciplinary Studies for our teachers, research students, and all the students and interested all the dignitaries. I welcome all the faculty members, research students. Today's expert lecture will be delivered by Dr. Mangesh Kokare, sir.
It's Manesh.
Manesh Kokare, sir. I introduce sir's CV is so rich. I introduce Kokare, sir, in the brief. Dr. Mangesh Kokare, sir, was born in Pune in 11th August 1972. Sir has qualified diploma in industrial electronics engineering for the Board of Technical Examination, Maharashtra. Sir completed BE/ME degree in electronics from Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji Institute of Engineering and Technology, Nanded, in 1993 and 1999 respectively, and PhD from the Department of Electronics and Electrical Communication Engineering from Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur, India, in 2005. Sir also completed his postdoctoral research work in 2011-12 from the prestigious University of California, USA. From June 93 to October 95, he worked in the industry, and after October 95, he started his academic career as a lecturer in the Department of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineering at SGGSIE Institute of Engineering and Technology, Nanded. He is presently holding the position of Professor and Dean Academics, Coordinator of Center of Excellence in Signal and Image Processing, and Coordinator of RUSA also. He has taken the responsibility of Head of Department of Electronics Telecommunication Engineering, Dean Research and Development, Dean Finance and Quality Assurance of the SGGS College. Till he has published about 113 plus paper in international and national journals and conferences. His research work got citation of 2,705 and H index 22 and I-10 index 42. He received the prestigious Career Award for Young Teachers in 2005 from the AICT, New Delhi, India. The award carries a
This meeting is being recorded.
Research grant of 10.5 lakhs spread over 3 years. In December 2009, he has honored the best achiever of SGGS alumni. He also received a Boy Scout fellowship of US $38,000 from the government of India to carry out the postdoctoral research work and the University of California in 2011-12. Dr. Kokare was honored with the Best Teacher Award by SRT University, Nanded in September 2013. Recently, Dr. Kokare has been honored the AICT Vishwasariya Best Teacher Award 2020 in National Award given by AICT New Delhi, which is very prestigious award, to the outstanding faculty member of technical institution all over India. Under his supervision, 15 research scholars has completed PhD in electronics and computer engineering, and presently 6 research scholars are working towards their PhD. He has fetched rupees 720 lakh grants for the development of the institution. He is a life member of a System Society of India and Indian Society for Technical Education, ISTE, the Institution of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineering, and the member of IEEE, Signal Processing Society, member of IEEE Computer Society. Acknowledging Dr. Kokare's research contribution, he has been selected as a reviewer of 20 international journals like IEEE, Transition of Image Processing, IEEE, Transition of System Man, and other subjects. Dr. Kokare was also programmed the chair of IEEE International Conference on Information Processing held at Nanded, Maharashtra in October 2016. Dr. Kokare visited Cambridge University, UK in 2004 to present his research paper at the IEEE International Conference on Pattern Recognition. He got a travel award of $500 from his research paper. Also in June 2006, Dr. Kokare visited the University of Spain for collaborative research work. In November 2006 and January 2008, he had visited University of California, USA. In March 2009, he has visited Bangkok to present the research paper at IEEE International Conference. For his postdoctoral research work in 2011-12, he visited the University of California, University of Iowa, Stanford University, USA, University of California, Berkeley, USA. In 2013, he visited National University Singapore, NTO Singapore, and UTP Malaysia for research collaboration. His research interests include waveless image processing and other subjects related to computer electronic communication. For the benefit of the faculty member and the research scholars in engineering and science, he has conducted more than 350 professional workshop and short-term training programs in various engineering colleges in India. Based on his significant research contribution, recently, Dr. Kokare has been chosen as a candidate whose biography is included in 2007 edition of Who's Who in the World. So this is the brief CV of Dr. Kokare, and this the personality who is delivering the lecture on the how to write research paper and publication ethics, which is the part of our PhD coursework also, and it is the need of all type of researches. So we get benefited from your lecture, sir, and I again welcome you, and I invite you to deliver your lecture, please, Dr. Kokare.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much.
All faculty members and research students are requested, please mute your mic. So we got benefited the clear voice of Dr. Kokare, sir. Please, Dr. Kokare, sir.
Okay. So whether my presentation is visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Fine. Thank you, madam. Thank you, madam, for giving me an opportunity. So in this week, I'll talk about first part, that is actually writing best research paper and research ethics. So particularly, I'll talk about mainly about research ethics, and then, okay, in condition with that one, I'll talk about how to write a best research paper. When I joined my PhD program at IIT Kharagpur, I did a lot of literature survey, collected nearly 1,000 papers related to my area of research. And I joined as a research scholar under QIP, that is Quality Improvement Program of Government of India at IIT Kharagpur. So after joining, in the first week of my research, I was having an experience of writing a university paper not writing a research paper and so on. So I was thinking that how should I start? So there was one of my colleague, and I asked him that, can you help me? Because I never wrote in a single paper before this one. So how to start, how to write, and so on. So he said that, Manish, nothing is available freely. If you want my help, then you have to pay back. I said, what kind of payment you want from my side? So he said that if you want my help, then you have to put my name as a third author, as a co-author, and so on. So I said that let me ask to my supervisor, and then I'll take the decision. So I went to my professor, Professor B.N. Chatterjee, who is a founder member of Image Processing in India, and I shared this difficulty with him. So, and I straightforward, I said that, sir, I never wrote a single paper till now, and then I don't know how to write a paper and so on. So if I would like to take a help of this colleague, but his demand is that I should write his name as a co-author. So professor said that don't take his help, don't put his name as a co-author. Then I said that, how should I proceed? So he said that you learn all those things through your PhD journey or research journey, and you learn how to write an effective paper through your experience. So there is no way to get experience except through the experience. And he suggested me that you preserve the first draft of your paper. See, initially you may not be a good writer, but later on, once you finish your PhD, and then you compare, the way you are writing with the first draft of your research paper, you will see that there will be a drastic change in writing style. And this drastic change you will achieve through the experience, through the journey of PhD and so on. So that's why he said that there is no way to get the experience except through the experience. So you have to experience the journey of PhD and so on. So I started writing a paper. I preserved that draft, and when I finished my PhD, at the time of submission of thesis, I was just looking my first draft, and there was a lot of difference in the writing style, which I learned through the experience. So definitely in a PhD or as a research scholar, not only doing a research, but how you are presenting is also very, very important. So presentation is in the form of writing a paper or giving a talk and so on in the conference and so on. So writing is an art that you have to learn through the journey of PhD. And even I'll say that even if your results are moderate, but if you are effective in communication, if you are effective in writing a research paper, your chances of getting your paper selected are very, very high. Otherwise, sometimes it may happen that your paper, you have very good results, but if your writing paper is very poor, then there are chances that even if your results are good and if you have not written well, your paper may get rejected. So writing a paper is an art, and that you have to learn through the journey of PhD. A question comes in our mind that why should I write a paper? Is it not possible to get PhD without writing a paper? If you go to premier institute like as a IIT or in foreign university, there is no compulsion of writing any kind of paper for getting a PhD degree. But if you go to the state university, like even in our SRT-MU, we take the submission of PhD thesis unless, after that research scholar publishes at least 2 journal paper in referred journals and so on. So in some of the university, it is compulsory, but in some of the university, there is no compulsion to publish a paper. Now, if there is no compulsion in premier institute, then why we should write a paper? What are the advantages of writing a paper and so on? See, why we should write a paper? Ideally, that writing a paper through writing a paper, we are sharing our research discoveries or findings with others, colleagues, with the hope of improving the technology or improving the research further and so on. So we'd like to share our research with the colleagues or those who are working in the field, same field, and so on. So this is ideal way. But what is practical? If you write a paper, what are the benefits as a researcher to you? So number one, I'll tell you that, see, when you publish a paper, okay, during your PhD, like for example, during my PhD, I published 6 journal papers, and then 8 IEEE conference papers. So in total, I published 14 research papers. Out of 6 journals, there were 2 IEEE transactions, 2 elsewhere, and 2 IET. And then 8 conferences were all IEEE conferences were there. Now, what benefit I got? So while writing a thesis, see, for writing a thesis, if you don't have any publication, it takes a lot of time, like 6 to 8 months time is needed for writing a thesis. But if you have a papers, then just you have to convert those papers into chapters, right? So thesis writing becomes easy if you have good publications, because already those papers are reviewed by many experts and it has been published in a polished form, and then just you have to convert those papers into the chapter form. So writing thesis become easy. Another thing is that, see, second advantage is that when you submit a thesis, that thesis will go to the examiner. So there may be 2 to 3 examiners, and what examiners will see first? They will see second last page of your thesis, and on second last page of your thesis, a list of publications are given. Like for example, how many journal papers are published through this thesis? Like 4 to 5 journal papers are there. How many conference papers are there? 4 to 5 conference papers are there. So this examiner will get a confidence that this work is already published in a reputed journal or reputed conferences. So it is reviewed by many experts. So accepting thesis becomes easy. I'll tell you that most of the time I have seen that many people require nearly 1 year to 1.5 year time to get the thesis checked by the examiner and so on. But in my case, when I submitted my thesis on 15 July 2004, within 1 month, see, my thesis went, one of the examiner of my thesis was from India side, it was from ISC Bangalore, Professor YV Venkatesh from ISC Bangalore, and my foreign examiner was Professor H. Niemann from University of Germany, Erlangen. Okay, University of Erlangen, Germany. Both the examiners, since publications were good, so both the examiners gave the review report of my thesis within 1 month. So it was too quick. So getting a thesis reviewed becomes very, very easy if you have good publications, substantial number of publications. So that is your second advantage. Third advantage, see, practically, third advantage is that your CV will be strong with publications. Fourth one is that, see, once you join as a faculty member, so definitely you have to continue your research, and for continuation of your research, you have to pay the funding. So to get the funding, you should have a publication in the domain of your expertise. Then and then, okay, like AICT or DST or Government of India, there are various schemes available under which you can get the funding. So getting funding is easy if you have good publications in your domain of expertise. Also, to get promotion from assistant professor to associate or associate to professor, you need a publication. So to get the promotion, you need a publication. To get the job, new job, you need a publication. To keep your job, also you need a publications and so on. So there are several practical advantages of publishing a paper. So that's why we should publish a paper. Another thing is that how scientists, okay, how is scientists rated? So see that, so for example, scientists are rated by what they finish and not by what they attempt. Like for example, if somebody has done the research in 2018, he has got very good result with that method, and he has not published any kind of paper on that one. And if another person, B person is there, who has done same kind of research, same method, and he got same kind of result, and if he publishes a paper, who will get the benefit or who will get the credit of that paper? The person who has done in 2018 but not published, or the person who has done in 2022 but published the paper? So definitely the person who has published the paper, he will get the credit. So because he has finished the research, whereas a person, he has done the research, he has got the result, but he has not published the paper. So publishing a paper is nothing but finishing your research work. So if you are not finishing your research work, you will not get the credit of that one. So it will be half work and you will not get the credit of your own research. So next reason for publishing a paper is that if you want a credit of your research work, you have to publish your paper. Either you publish a paper or you can file the patent and so on. So your intellectual property should be protected either in the form of publication or in the form of patent and so on. So that is the sixth reason why you should publish paper. Another thing is that, see, as Madam has mentioned that I have given more than 400 talks all over India. And during my research, I came across one of the paper which was published by W.Y. Ma. See, W.Y. Ma, he was doing a research at University of California under the guidance of Professor B.S. Manjunath. I never met this person, but I have uttered his name at least 10,000 times during my research as well as during my talk and so on. See, I don't know where he is located. So definitely as per his name, he must be from China, W.Y. Ma. So I never met that one, but I have uttered his name just because what he has published was very, very important for, from the research point of view from my side. So scientists are known by what they have published, not by where they are located. So even if you are located in the remote area, like as a Nanded, which is not well connected to the other cities, but if you do good research, definitely you'll get the recognition of your research. So location is not important. What you publish is important. What you do, what kind of research you do is very, very important. So the seventh reason why you should publish a paper is that scientists are known by what they have published and not by where they are located. So location is not important. Nowadays, everybody is connected through internet, and so you can get whatever the facilities you want just by connecting to the internet and so on. So my suggestion is that you publish a paper in top-rated journal and get the recognition or reward of this one. Now, getting a paper published. So first thing is that where you can publish a paper, what are the platforms available? See that you can publish, like for example, in the lowest level platform is that you can publish a paper in a research symposium. Above that one, there is a workshop. You can publish a paper in workshop. Above that one, you can publish a paper in national conference. Above that one, you can publish a paper in international conference. Above that, you can publish a paper in national journals. Above national journals, there are international journals. So international journals like as a InterScience journals are there, Springer journals are there, or above that Springer journals, you have a platform like this one. Science Direct is there, Elsewhere publication is there, above Elsewhere publication, IEEE Society publications are there, and above IEEE Society publication, there is a Royal Society which publishes a paper, and at the top of all, there are the papers which are published by Science and Nature journals. So the topmost platform for publishing a paper is Science and Nature journal, whereas the bottommost platform is that you can publish a paper even in research symposium and so on. Now, where to publish, it depends upon the novelty and contribution of your research. And here your supervisor will play a big role to guide you where you can publish your paper. He will advise you depending upon your novelty and depending on your contribution. Now see that you can publish a paper in a conference, you can publish a paper in journal. Now for conference paper, you have definite deadline, like, okay, call for paper deadline is there, then review process will be there. After that, there will be this one, selection email will be there. And then after that, you have to submit. may I request to mute? Okay, so on this one, then so different deadlines are there in a conference, and you have to pay the registration fee and so on. Whereas in case of journals, there is no definite deadlines, so you can publish or you can communicate a paper to the referred journal at any instant of time, 24/7, 360 days and so on. Whereas in top rated journal, there is no registration fees or like that. Another thing is that the length of the conference paper is like, as you can publish a paper in a conference like a 4-page length or 5-page length. Whereas in journal, number of papers, number of pages, like it may be 10 pages and so on. So the gist of your research can be published in a conference, and the detailed research can be published in the journal, right? Now, here for conference, you have to go and present the paper, but for journals, you don't have to go and present the paper. Once your paper is accepted, it will be published by the journal and so on. But the time required for publication in the journal is high, because it is a critical review process is adopted in the journal, and that's why rejection rate is also high in case of this one journals and so on. So I have given here, for example, IET Journal of Research, 40% paper gets rejected. PRL, pattern recognition letter, 60% paper get rejected. IEEE transaction on system and cybernetics part B, 70% rejected. IEEE IP image processing is 80%. Science, nature, or pattern analysis and machine intelligence, 90% paper get rejected. But I mean to say that don't take this value as it is. Just for your understanding purpose, I'm giving these values. So what I mean to say that publishing a paper in IP is easier as compared to PAMI, or PAMI is difficult as compared to IP, or IP is difficult as compared to SMC and so on, because it's a review process and standard is very, very high and so on. Now, what are the major reasons for rejection of the paper? When you communicate any paper to journals or conferences, why generally papers get rejected? Number one is that conformity, or if it is not novel. So if proposed method is not novel or novelty is very limited, then your paper may get rejected. Second reason for rejection is if your experimental design is not correct, or controls are poor, hypothesis is not adequately tested, or for example, I'm doing a research in machine learning or AI or pattern recognition, and if I'm communicating that one to journals of VLSI or embedded system and so on, so definitely this will be a mismatch, because paper is written for image processing and I'm communicating that one to the other journal. So you have to select the appropriate journal for publications. And the most important is that if your paper is poorly written, if your language is poor, then there are chances that your paper may get rejected and so on, right? Now, what are the tips to avoid the rejection? So first tip is that know the journals, its editor, and you should know why you are submitting that paper for that journal and so on. So appropriate journal selection is very, very important, and in this particularly stage, your supervisor will help you, because supervisor knows what is the standard of that journal, what kind of papers can be accepted to that journal and so on. So he will judge your novelty, he will judge your contribution, and then he will advise you that you can submit that paper to Elsevier, or you can submit that paper to IEEE, or you can submit that paper to Springer Journal and so on. So depending on the contribution and novelty, supervisor may suggest you where to submit the paper, which journal you should submit the paper and so on. Second tip is that when you're writing a paper, pay close attention to the spelling, grammar, and punctuation. Nowadays, there are several softwares are available even for checking of plagiarism. Also, you have software, so you can check that one. Another thing is that Grammarly is there, which will take care of your mistakes in grammar and so on. Because see, our first language is not an English language. Our first language is a Marathi or Hindi and so on. And we are writing, so like for example, particularly in case of professional courses where journals are in the English and so on. So we have to write the papers in English form, And there, many people commit the mistake in spelling, many people commit the mistakes in grammar and so on. So you can use a Grammarly software for taking care of that one. Or okay, if your English is good, then definitely it will help you. So pay close attention to the spelling, grammar, and punctuation. Another thing is that when you're writing a paper in 2022, and if somebody has like for example, he's writing a paper in 2022 and his recent paper cited to that paper is 2012. So that is the recent publication and so on. So in that case, definitely see that when your paper will be submitted, the reviewer will say that this researcher does not know what has been happened since the last 10 years. A lot of research work has been done. He has not done literature survey comprehensively and accurately. So your paper may get rejected and so on. So to avoid that one, give the reference of, or particularly you have to do the exhaustive literature survey, and also you have to include the papers which are previously published as well as recently published. So you have to make a balance of that one. And make sure that these references are accurate. Like for example, in reference section, you have given reference number 3 as a Deshpande and Kulkarni. Right? In reference section, you have given a reference as a Deshpande and Kulkarni as a reference number 3. And in main manuscript, the third reference is like as a Alexander and something like that. So it is a mismatch. So that kind of mistakes we should avoid. So it should be only Deshpande and Kulkarni, whatever you have referred in the reference section and so on. So make sure references are comprehensive and accurate. Then avoid careless mistakes while writing a paper and so on. Then read and conform to the instruction for author. See that writing style of every journal is different. So you have to write according to the style of that journal, because if you're writing for IEEE, style is different, particularly for giving a references. So you will get the instruction for authors. So one section will be there on the website of that journal, that instruction for authors. So I'll suggest you people that you read those instructions for author very carefully. You see what kind of, what way they are referring the papers and so on, and follow formatting of that paper according to the instruction for authors and so on. So these are some of the tips which are this one, which must be followed while writing a paper and so on. Now the research ethics, like for example, what are the 7 deadly sins in the research and so on. So first one is that, see, when you are doing a research, okay, you should not do the data manipulation and falsification. Okay, so what is by data manipulation and falsification? Data manipulation and falsification means, like for example, without doing a research, if somebody is playing with only data and plotting the graphs and so on and falsifying the result, so that kind of thing is not at all acceptable in the research. Okay, because see that your supervisor will believe on you. Whatever the result you are proposing, okay, or presenting to the supervisor will believe on you. He is not going to implement whatever the algorithm you are going to propose. So he will just believe on you. So don't make fool to your supervisor by manipulation of the data and falsification and so on. I'll just give one example here. There was, see, when I was doing my PhD at IIT Kharagpur, there was one research scholar, particularly earlier he was master student there, and then we saw that he was not doing any kind of much research and so on. So he was always busy with other non-technical kind of activities and so on. And then one fine day, actually, my supervisor asked me that we have to submit one paper, invited paper to the one of the conference, and then he invited me and other 2 researchers. So one of them was that research scholar. So he said that, okay, we'll write a joint paper and we'll submit that paper to that conference. And then he asked me to take a lead and write a paper. So I took the lead for writing that paper, and then after that I asked other 2 persons, other 2 researchers to give their result and algorithms. So the first one gave me, so his results were fantastic and so on. And then when I asked to the second one, And when I saw the results, so results was not that way good. So I said that your results are not that way really good, impressive. So what was his response? Sir, what kind of result you want? I said that if instead of asking me what kind of result you want, you tell me what kind of result you have. So he said that, sir, I can generate any kind of result. I was really surprised how you can generate the result. So he was just changing the values in the Excel sheet and plotting the graph and so on. So I said that this is academic fraud. This is not acceptable and so on. But I'll tell you that later on, this researcher was sacked from IIT because he was found guilty and so on. So my suggestion is that don't do data manipulation or present false result in paper or to your researcher and so on. Then second is duplicate manuscript. Now see that many researchers are in hurry. They want to publish paper as early as possible and so on. So what they do, they submit the same paper at multiple places. Like, okay, it has been same paper is submitted to the pattern recognition letter, same paper is communicated to one of the conference, same paper is communicated to wherever we'll get the acceptance, we'll publish that one. So, but that is not the way of doing research or communicating in a professional way. Because sometimes if your research is really good, your paper at both places will be accepted and then the same paper will be published and then that will become a duplicate manuscript. Okay. So my suggestion is that communicate paper to only one journal at a time. Wait for the review process. After review, if your paper is accepted by that journal, it is well and good. If it is not accepted, you might have got some kind of review recommendations or review comment, modify that paper, and after that modification, you can resubmit that paper to the same journal or other journals. So that will avoid duplicacy of the manuscript and so on. Then third deadly sin is that redundant publications. Now, see, nowadays it is not possible because of plagiarism softwares are available. But earlier, when plagiarism software was not available, at that time, what many people used to do, they used to change, they used to make some small corrections or 20% change was there, and then 80% rest of the things were same. So it was a redundant kind of thing. But checking was not possible because at that time, plagiarism software was not available. So don't do that one. Now, fourth deadly sin in the research is plagiarism. Plagiarism means what? Copying others' works and without giving due credit to the original researcher, claiming that this is my work or this is my sentence or this is my paragraph and so on. So that is not at all acceptable. If you are taking, my request to mute. Okay. So if you are taking the reference or some sentences or some paragraph from other research papers, give due credit to that original author and so on. I'll tell you that, see, it's not only for sentence level or it's not only for paragraph level. I have seen some of the papers which are entirely copied and so on. So I came across one of the, in 2011, I came across one of the paper which was published by one of the researchers from Bombay. See, original conference paper was published in IEEE conference in 2007. And then this researcher in 2009 took same paper, changed only name of the authors, and then same was communicated to the conference in the local conference. Now, in the local conference, review process is not that rigorous, and her paper was accepted at that time. So that paper, which is totally entirely copied by this researcher, is published in 2009, whereas the original version of that paper was already published in 2007. Now, in 2011, the original author came to know that his paper is entirely copied by this researcher and published in the other conference as it is. Then he filed a complaint in IEEE, and then IEEE took the note of this one, and then both the papers were reviewed, and after that they sent an email to the researcher who has done the plagiarism, okay, and also her supervisor, that you have done the academic fraud, and hence you are debarred for next 2 years for submitting a paper to any IEEE conference, and so on. In 2016, when I was conducting a IEEE conference, so in the final stage, we got an email because it was an IEEE supported conference, and then I got an email from IEEE that these are the researchers who has done academic fraud, or they found guilty in plagiarism. Hence, even if they have submitted, because they are debarred for submitting a paper in a next 2 years in an IEEE conference. So if you find any paper of this researcher, don't consider that paper for this conference. See, thousands of this one named were there, and so on. So my suggestion is that, okay, you check your paper through the plagiarism software. Okay, now earlier it was not available, but now everywhere it is made compulsory. Even at institute level, you have this plagiarism software, and then check your paper through plagiarism and try to reduce the plagiarism, okay, at least less than 15-20% plagiarism, and so on. Then author's conflict of interest. Like for example, for publishing a paper, all the authors should be interested, and it's not like that, okay, you have put somebody's name and he does not know, and so on. So that kind of conflict should not be there while publishing a paper, and so on. Then when you are doing a research in the biomedical field or medical field, and so on, at that time sometimes you have to do the experiments on animals. Now you're going to take directly action on the animal or cut that animal and do the research, and so on. So you have to take the prior approval of ethical committee. So ethical committee will, if that ethical committee gives you approval to conduct the research, then you can go ahead. So if you are doing the research in animal or biomedical or human being, and so on, so you have to have the permission from the of ethical approval from the recognized committee of your university, and so on. So these are the things that you have to basically follow, and so on. Now, what are the research misconduct? Okay, so as I said, that falsifying or cooking the research data without doing research, if somebody is just fabricating that data, then that is very, very wrong.